The Auburn Tigers are the best team in college basketball.
This is the Halftime Sports Talk Show with your host, Reese Kinder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of the Halftime Sports Talk Show. I'm your host, Reese Kinder, and I'm glad to be back. Last week, missed the week. Did have a snow day actually happen, so kind of took the week off for that. Should have updated you guys more on that on Instagram and TikTok, stuff like that. But we are back again, and new week, new episode. I will still be dropping daily, or like weekly. I meant not daily, weekly. I will be dropping as much as I can, depending on my schedule. So just stay tuned for updates whenever I have them. Look out on Instagram. We do have a Twitter now, and we also have TikTok. So just make sure to follow those, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. And let's go ahead and get into the episode. And honestly, so far, we're gonna start this episode. We usually start with football. That's what we've been doing so far. But this episode, we are gonna start it with some men's college basketball, and for good reason. I mean, men's college basketball has just been insane this year, and we actually got ourselves a little bit of bracketology that we are going to be talking about. And I do actually have a new graphic system now that will be able to show I'll be able to show you guys what I'm talking about, and where we're looking in the bracket and stuff like that. But going to go ahead and start off with the rankings for week 13. We're already in week 13 of men's college basketball. And I mean, we're this close to March Madness. Just the most exciting time of the year right now. And your rankings is Auburn at number 1 with 62 votes, unanimous number 1 for 2 weeks in a row. And yeah, I mean, this Auburn team just still winning, still finding a way to win. If you guys didn't watch the game the other night, against Tennessee in Auburn, that was a thriller. I mean, very physical basketball game. 53-51, Auburn gets the win. Miles Kelly hits the game-winning three, basically. I mean, it was the game-winning three with only about 30 to 40 seconds left, and put Auburn ahead, and they never looked back and got that win by 2 at home. And then your number 2 team is Duke. Number 3 is Iowa State. Number 4 is Alabama. Number 5 is Florida. Number 6 is Houston. Number 7 is Michigan State. Number 8 is Tennessee. Number 9 is Marquette. Number 10 is Purdue. Number 11 is Kansas. Number 12 is Kentucky. Number 13 is Texas A&M. Number 14 is Mississippi State. Number 15 is St. John's. Number 16 is Oregon. Number 17 is Wisconsin. Number 18 is Illinois. Number 19 is Memphis. Number 20 is Missouri. 21 is Louisville, 22 is Texas Tech, 23 is Ole Miss, 24 is Vanderbilt, and 25 is UConn. And that rankings there, kind of you'd say, oh, that looks pretty good. In my opinion, I don't necessarily think it. I mean, the top part looks great. Top part looks really good, but the bottom part kind of confused me a little bit, and I kind of want to talk about that. But one team I do want to mention before we talk about that is St. John's. St. John's having a heck of a year. With Rick Pitino coaching that team now. And I mean, he's just had a great season with St. John's, and St. John's 17-3, currently up on Providence right now, 23-3 in the first half. So they're on a roll early on in that game. And yeah, St. John's, I mean, up 5 spots, up to 15th, really making a name for themselves. And we will talk about that soon with the bracketology. I'll kind of break down what's going on there and what we're kind of looking at with St. John's and some other teams to look out for as well. But then, going away, like I mentioned before we talked about St. John's, I was like kind of confused about the bottom part, and I really am, because the one team that sticks out to me that's still in the rankings is UConn. UConn did lose to Xavier actually this past week. Actually, last week they lost to Xavier by 3 points at home, and they only fell 6 spots. And you got teams in the honorable mentions like Maryland, Michigan, Utah State, Clemson. Some of those teams right there kind of snubbed out of the rankings, I feel like. And if I had to say, I mean, Maryland they have 3 wins over top 25 teams in the past few weeks, and they're definitely making a name for themselves over the past few weeks. And I think UConn does need to be out of the rankings at 14-6. That's just kind of showing some favoritism since they did win back-to-back national championships, and you kind of need to let off that a little bit. UConn's not as good as they were when they won those national titles, so I'd say the AP poll needs to kind of look at that next week if UConn were to lose this week, or maybe even to win, I say. And then, another surprise in the rankings this week was Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt actually 24th in the rankings now. Vanderbilt gets in the rankings for the first time since 2015. And I mean, what a year in sports for the Commodores. Their women's basketball team ranked for the first time since 2014. Their men's basketball ranked since 2015. Their football ranked in God knows forever. I mean, just a great year for Vandy sports in general. And this Vandy basketball team been getting some pretty good wins over the past few weeks. 2 weeks ago, a win against Tennessee, and then a win against the Wildcats at home. And, Vanderbilt's become a pretty tough place to play this year in SEC play. So for any big ranked teams that go there in the next coming weeks, that's going to be a tough place to play if you're playing against the Commodores. But going away from the AP poll now, kind of want to get into some big games of the week that we have coming up. And starting off tonight at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, you have the Kentucky Wildcats and the Tennessee Volunteers at Tennessee in Knoxville. This should be a great game. Number 8 versus number 12. Excuse me. Number 8 versus number 12. Tennessee is a 10.5-point favorite, but I mean, this game should be a great one between two SEC blue bloods, I would say. And I mean, yeah, this game's definitely going to decide a lot to see who can still maybe get that first round bye in SEC or in the SEC tournament later on in the season. And yeah, I mean, this game coming up very soon, and this should be a good one between Kentucky and Tennessee. And then moving on to the next game that we have tonight, Wake Forest and Louisville, both 15-5. That's really interesting because Wake Forest, this will be mentioned later, but Wake Forest is on the first 4 out in Joe Lunardi's bracketology for ESPN. And, who knows? Wake Forest got to get a win against a ranked team like Louisville to kind of get your resume up. And, yeah, definitely going to have to win in Louisville if you're going to want to get that resume boosted up and possibly get, mentioned this week on Friday for Lunardi's new updated bracketology. But that game will be at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern as well. And then, not really any other good games today, but tomorrow, I believe, we have a few good games. You have Wisconsin and Maryland at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Wisconsin, 16-4 on the season, 17th in the rankings, and Maryland 16-5 on the season. And Big Ten matchup in College Park. This should be a good one. I think Maryland could get the win, and this would be very good for Maryland's confidence, especially since they were snubbed out of the AP poll. You could kind of have a little bit of momentum going in that game and be like, oh yeah, we got some fuel to the fire, and going to get a big win against a ranked team at home, and that would just be great for that program so they can get things going and get in the rankings for first time, I think, this season. But that game will be at 6 p.m. on ESPN. But another game at 8 p.m. actually Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, is Alabama and Mississippi State. Alabama ranked 4th in the country, 17-3, and then Mississippi State 16-4, and they're 14th in the country. This should be a good game in Humphrey Coliseum in Starkville. I mean, Mississippi State had a really good season so far, and I think the Bulldogs could get the job done against a team like Alabama. Alabama, Mark Sears, a little bit of controversy has been reported within that Alabama locker room, that Mark Sears had an attitude with Nate Oates. So we will see that could be a game time decision for Alabama. But if Sears doesn't play, then that could really impact the game for sure. But Mississippi State at home, I mean, who knows? That game could go either way. I think the Bulldogs could get a big win against the Tide if things go their way, if the ball bounces the right way. But we'll see. But that game is on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then Thursday, you don't really have any good games Thursday. Some Big Ten games, but it's like mainly ranked versus unranked. And then Saturday is Friday, not really anything, but Saturday is the big day. You got a lot of great games Saturday. Starting it off at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. You got the number one Auburn Tigers headed in to Oxford, Mississippi to face off against the number 23 Ole Miss Rebels. Ole Miss kind of been struggling as of late since beating Alabama. Didn't really have that good of a game last week, but still ranked in the rankings at 15-5. But Auburn, still on a roll, 6-0 in the SEC. Can they get the job done again on the road? They actually have 2 road games. LSU will happen on Wednesday, so definitely going to be looking out for Auburn here. And I think the Tigers might be able to get the job done, but definitely going to be a scary environment for that Auburn team headed into Oxford, probably with a sold-out crowd. And then at 11 a.m. on ESPN on Saturday, you have number 5 Florida against number 8 Tennessee. Florida 18-2 on the season, very good year so far for the Gators, and then Tennessee 17-3 playing Kentucky tonight. So that really could be a huge game for SEC implications to see what happens. And this is going to be in Knoxville. So that's another big game for the SEC conference. This SEC conference this year has just been all over the place. I mean, just been tons and tons of upsets. So gonna really be interested to see what happens on Saturday with these ranked versus ranked SEC matchups, and definitely one of the biggest days in college basketball for sure on February 1st. But going to the next game, actually, we have Duke at home against North Carolina. Duke and North Carolina, biggest rivalry in college basketball. Nobody can tell me different. At Duke, and I mean, Karen Indoor is going to be rocking. Cooper Flagg, definitely going to look out for him for sure after he scored 42 points last week against or I don't know who it was. It was either against Wake Forest or some other team. But yeah, I mean, Duke and North Carolina, classic rivalry. This should be a close game. And yeah, I mean, I see the Blue Devils honestly winning big because North Carolina's not really as good as they have been this year. 13-8 on the season, not very good for the Tar Heels, but we'll see. It's definitely a rivalry game, and that is College Game Day this upcoming weekend, so definitely going to look out for that. But moving on to another SEC versus SEC matchup, you have number 20 Missouri at Mississippi State, another ranked game for the Bulldogs this week. That should be a good game. This Missouri team's been very hot this season with their play, and Mississippi State also has just been very good. And I expect that game to be very close, but definitely going to be a sold-out crowd there in Starkville. And watch out for Mississippi State to possibly get another big win, or even Missouri come in to Starkville and get the upset. But big game for the SEC again in basically a cage match, I would say. And then later on in the day, you have Texas Tech at Houston. Texas Tech's had a great season, and Houston has had a great season. Well, 8-0 in the Big 12. And yeah, I think this could be a close game. But I do think Houston wins because Houston just has bigger guards and a lot of big men underneath the basket. And honestly, I mean, Houston definitely gonna look out for their 3-point shooting. They have a very good 3-point shooting team, so definitely gonna be something to look out for with Houston and Texas Tech. And then the last ranked versus ranked game on Saturday will be between the UConn Huskies and the Marquette Golden Eagles. Marquette, number 9 in the country, very good team, and you got to look out for Marquette at home. I think they can get the job done against UConn because UConn's not really as good as they have been. So yeah, I got Marquette winning that one. I don't know why I want to say Marquette because I think I've heard somebody say Marquette before, but yeah, I got Marquette winning that game, at home against UConn. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of highlighting the week, what's going to go on. And it should be a great week of college basketball. But still staying on the topic of college basketball, we are going to get into bracketology. And we're going to call this, instead of ESPN bracketology, we're going to call this halftime sports bracketology. So obviously, as we know, your top overall seed is the Auburn Tigers, 18-1 on the season, 6-0 in the SEC. So definitely going to be the number one overall seed. Your first team out is Xavier, and then your last team in is UCF. So, in my honest opinion, obviously, you guys know I'm looking off Lenardi's bracketology, but we're going to kind of change things around here. So, I'd say our last four buys, you're going to have Oklahoma, Georgia, Wake Forest, and Pitt. That will be the last four buys. Your last four in will be Ohio State, Texas, um, Xavier, and UCF. And then your first four out will be North Carolina, Indiana, Arizona State, and SMU. And your next four out will be Nebraska, Cincinnati, San Diego State, and Dayton. But going away from the bubble now, I want to take a look at our one seeds from the South region. Your one seed will be Auburn. From the East, it will be Duke. From the West, it will be Iowa State. And then from the Midwest, it will be Alabama. And honestly, I think we all know Auburn is probably the best one seed. But I mean, Auburn and Duke, if they went against each other again, I think would be a pretty good matchup. And I think Auburn might get the win, but I don't know. I don't think when it's all said and done, I don't think Alabama will be a one seed in my opinion. I think they'll lose a few more games, and you'll see them be a 2 or a 3 in my opinion. But that's where we have them right now at a 1. So I definitely think there could be some changes for sure. But yeah, I see Alabama probably being a 2 or a 3 in my opinion. But other than that, I don't really see anything changing. I mean, Iowa State's been pretty consistent all season. So is Auburn and so is Duke. So unless anything drastically changes, I would say nothing really will change at the moment. So we'll see. But going away from the one seeds now, I want to take a look at the two seeds. Your two seeds are Purdue, Florida, Marquette, and Tennessee. Honestly, I say you could see Tennessee possibly be a one seed. That could be your other one seed. Maybe they replace Alabama if any or if everything goes wrong. That could be the team that could replace Alabama because Tennessee's been having a really good season and they're only they lost by 2 points to Auburn at Auburn, and that's not a bad loss. I mean, you got to admit that's a pretty close loss and a pretty good loss to a good Auburn team. And then obviously Florida, on the I believe that's the east side of the bracket. Yeah, Florida, that's a great spot for them. I like the setup, and I think Florida could stay at 2 for the rest of the season. Maybe move back to a 3 or 4 if things go wrong, but I don't really see that going wrong for the Gators, so I keep them there. Another team in contention for that one spot too would be Purdue. Purdue does have some decent they have some bad losses to teams like Auburn and some other teams. But I mean, I think Purdue could still possibly get up to that one spot if they continue to win Big Ten games, and I mean that's what they've been doing. So they play Indiana on Friday, so that will definitely be the test for sure in a rivalry game. Can they get the job done? And I feel like it would be a close game, but Purdue could get that done, and I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens in the Big Ten conference play and in the Big Ten tournament later on in the season. But yeah, Purdue and Tennessee definitely the two seeds I see competing, and then your last 2 seed Marquette. I honestly see them staying there with the Big East. I mean, the Big East is all right. You got St. John's, UConn, and then teams like Xavier, and then Georgetown every once in a while upsets somebody. But yeah, I mean, I really see Marquette staying where they are, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to say the Golden Eagles aren't going anywhere. But then now, gonna move to the 3 seeds in the bracket. The 3 seeds in the bracket, you got Michigan State, Houston. Let's see who else we got here. You got Kansas, Kentucky. Really, Kansas and Kentucky are on the down. They're going down. I think Kansas and Kentucky both could. Kansas will end up at about a 4. I think Kentucky could end at a 5 or a 6. Honestly, in my opinion, they've had some pretty tough go, or they've had a tough go at it the past few weeks, and yeah, I see Kentucky possibly moving down significantly over the next few weeks with the amount of talented teams they play over the span of I would say 2 or 3 weeks. But definitely those 2 teams I see trending downward, and then Houston has been trending upward a lot as of late, and I think they're going to continue that. They could be a 2 seed as well if you see one of the 2 seeds that are currently seeded right now fall. I could see Houston possibly going up to one of the 2 seeds if that's definitely the case, and maybe even sneak into a 1 seed if they win the Big 12. But it's going to be hard, so we'll definitely keep an eye out for that. And then I would say the most interesting 3 seed as of now is Michigan State. Michigan State, only 2 losses on the season. Not a lot of people expected that from the Spartans this year. But Tom Izzo has definitely built a he's built a sneaky program this year to compete with those Big Ten teams that you need to compete with, and he's also competed with some tough non-conference opponents. They've lost to Kansas, and I forgot the other team they lost to, but their 2 losses are pretty valid losses, and they got some very great wins against some great teams. So yeah, I mean that Michigan State team definitely great spot for them, and I could possibly see them moving forward later on if things change. But now going to move on to the 4 seeds in the bracket. Your first 4 seed is Texas A&M, then you got Mississippi State, then you got Illinois, and then Oregon. Really the only 4 seed I see trending downward right now is Oregon. Oregon's lost a few games as of late. They play UCLA, I believe, the Thursday. And that's one thing you got to look out for. Oregon started the year off strong, started conference playoff strong, and as of late they've kind of just been on the downhill spiral from there. But yeah, the Ducks, gonna have to get some momentum going and get back in the groove again, and we'll see what happens. But I see Oregon possibly ending at a 7 seed if they continue this decline that they've been on. But other than that, I mean, Mississippi State, like where they're at. Texas A&M, they're a little too high. I'd say they need to be about a 5. But yeah, I mean, Mississippi State and who's that other 4 seed? Illinois. I mean, those great spots for both of those teams. So the 4 seeds look really solid as of now, and I definitely like what I'm seeing from that. But then now gonna move to the 5 seeds in your bracketology. You got Wisconsin, Michigan, and then you also have Arizona and Memphis. The one thing is I don't really like Michigan as a 5 seed. Michigan needs to be about a 7 or an 8. But Michigan, I mean, great talent on that team. I'd say a 5 seed though is a little too high for the Wolverines as of right now. I need them to show me a little bit more with this late stretch that's going here in the year and getting towards February. I say they need to show a little bit more to the college basketball world for sure if we want to see them at about a 5 seed. But I think that's the furthest they could go. Wisconsin, I could see them moving up though. In they're projected to play in Denver, but I could see them moving up a lot, maybe to a 3 seed if they can win the Big Ten, which they're definitely a contender for sure. And yeah, the Badgers definitely a team that I look out for in March Madness to possibly get hot. And then your other 5 seed Arizona has been on a roll. I mean, if you guys didn't watch that game last night against Iowa State, I mean, you guys missed out. Caleb Love hit a half-court shot and then went off in overtime. I mean, just got Arizona a giant win. And Arizona, they were not very good in non-conference play. Went 9-5 in non-conference play. Didn't look the same Arizona's team as we've seen in the past. And then all of a sudden, Big 12 play started, and they were just on a roll. I mean, they've been on a roll since, and they're continuing to just dominate teams that they play. Even big ranked teams like Iowa State, they're still dominating. So definitely a team to look out for to keep climbing is Arizona, I would say. And then also, I'd say another team to look out for to keep climbing is Memphis. Memphis, played a tough Auburn team in Maui, beat a UConn team in Maui. So I mean, this Memphis team not a joke. I mean, they're a very legit team, and I could see them possibly going far in March. And I see them a little bit higher, about a 4 seed, if you ask me, where Memphis should be. But yeah, that's your 5 seeds for March Madness as of right now for the projected. But now moving on from your 5 seeds, we're going to get to the 6 seeds. You got Missouri, Texas Tech, Louisville, and Ole Miss. I say Ole Miss you got to keep them at about a 6, maybe a 7. Ole Miss has been, like I said, on the decline lately. And I think there could possibly be some issues with that. And we'll see later on in the season. But the Rebels definitely have been falling as of late, as of the last few weeks. But yeah, definitely that's one of them I would say to look out for. Other than that, I like the 6 seed seeding. I mean, Texas Tech, great spot. And then Missouri's in a great spot as well, close to home in Wichita. And then, you got Louisville and Providence, and that Louisville's playing in Providence, and that should be a great one as well for the Cardinals. And that's just been great to see them strive after a few years of struggle in the ACC. But really, not much to talk about with the sixes at all. But now moving to your sevens, Clemson, St. John's, Maryland, and UCLA. I don't necessarily like St. John's and Maryland being placed where they're being placed. Definitely, or in Clemson too. These teams are way better teams than we're giving them credit for. I mean, Clemson has had a great season so far, beating some great teams. And then St. John's as well. I mean, 15th in the country and you're a 7 seed projected. I think we're gonna have to do a little bit better than that. But I say we can possibly move St. John's up to about a 5 seed or 6 seed for sure with the way they've been playing as of late. And then Maryland, I mean, like I said, 3 top 25 wins. They're actually, I believe, in the net rankings, they're top 25, and in KenPom, they're top 25. So definitely something to look out for with that right there. That seeding is still subject to change, but just as of right now, I don't like where we're at. But I think it could change a lot more as the season progresses on and on with St. John's and Clemson, and even Maryland getting possible spots in that. But then going away from your 7 seeds now, we're going to get into the 8 seeds. Your 8 seeds, you have Creighton, UConn, Gonzaga, and Utah State. The two teams I would kind of point out of the eights here, if we take a look here in the West region, you can see Gonzaga's kind of fallen a little bit. And I don't really like that. I think Gonzaga needs to be a little bit further back, maybe a 10, maybe even a play-in game, if we're going to say anything like that. And then I'd say UConn too. I mean, UConn definitely been falling off as of late, and I think you need to kind of change this around here with UConn in the East, and then in the West you got Gonzaga, both in not good places, which I don't really think they should be there at all. So we'll see, but hopefully we change it around. But other than that, I mean, I like Utah State, and I also like Creighton as well. Creighton's been a very good team this year, and Utah State's definitely been a surprise. Was ranked for a little bit, but did get beat eventually. But then going away from your 8 seeds, now you got your 9 seeds. You got Baylor, St. Mary's, Vanderbilt, and West Virginia. Really a team that sticks out here. I would have to say both two teams actually, Vanderbilt and West Virginia. West Virginia's had some huge wins this year against teams like Iowa State, and there's been a few other teams that they've beaten as well. Houston actually, I think, is who they've beaten. I could be wrong, but yeah, I mean, just West Virginia's had a great season so far, and I could see the Mountaineers getting in the tournament as about a 9 seed. I like that spot for them up there in that East region for sure. And then, as we look down to the West again, you got Vanderbilt, the 9 seed. It's really hard. It's really weird to talk about Vanderbilt in basketball because the past few years, Vandy really hasn't been that good in men's basketball at all. But yeah, they're climbing up for sure. Vandy's getting up there, but we'll see as the weeks progress towards March Madness. We will see how we're looking with seeding and everything as we go by episode week. And then yeah, gonna get away from the 9 seeds now. We're gonna get into the 10 seeds. Your 10 seeds, you got Georgia, Pitt, Oklahoma, and San Diego State. The two teams that stick out to me that should be a little lower, I say Georgia needs to be in the play-in game. They're 14-6 and have had some tough losses as of late. And then San Diego State needs to be out of it. San Diego State has not played that good as of late. I say those two teams definitely need to kind of switch. They need to kind of switch their roles where they're at now. But 10 seeds a little too high for Georgia, and I would say 10 seeds also a little too high for San Diego State as well. So definitely going to need to change that around as the weeks go on, and hopefully they do, or hopefully we see some change. But San Diego State definitely, I mean, they have not been playing good as of late, and same with Georgia. But not really much to talk about with the 10 seeds. But now moving on to your 11 seeds in the bracket, you got Your 11 seeds, you got New Mexico, you got VCU, you got UC Irvine, you got Ohio State and North Carolina. I know I said 5, and that is because 1 is a play-in game. But yes, I would say out of the 11 seeds we have, I like 3 of them. I like New Mexico, VCU, and UC Irvine to upset possibly in March Madness if this sticks, because New Mexico's had 2 or 3 upsets already in the Mountain West with against ranked teams, like I believe they beat Utah State. And then VCU just now has gotten noticed, but VCU has been on a tear as of late in the A10 conference. And then UC Irvine, they've been looking pretty solid, and this is a team we've had, like, there's been history of them upsetting people. So UC Irvine, I like them at the 11 seed, and I think that could be scary with those 3 teams I just mentioned. You could see some 11 versus 6 upsets for sure, and that's the best part about March Madness. But now moving on from the 11 seeds, we're gonna go to the 12 seeds actually now. The 12 seeds, you got McNeese, Yale. You got a playing game between Texas and UCF, and then you have Bradley. And I'd say 3 teams again. Here's another 3 teams that are 12 seeds that stick out to me. Bradley's like they're possibly a ranked team. McNeese has had a great season so far, and then Yale. I mean, Yale always dominant in the Ivy League. But yeah, I like Yale. I mean, Yale beat Auburn last year. Not the best, but I mean, Yale, very good team. I think, in my opinion. And then McNeese, I mean, that's a scary team right there. McNeese, they've beaten some very good teams this year. And yeah, that'd be a great matchup, 5 versus 12 for sure. And then Bradley, I mean, Bradley is an honorable mention in the top 25. And yeah, I could see those 3 teams right there definitely scary if they make the tournament and win their conference. But that is definitely depending on if they win their conference, because the 1 seed in the conference tournament doesn't always win it. So definitely something to look out for those teams. But gonna go on to your 13 seeds now. You got Middle Tennessee, Samford. You got Akron and Arkansas State. And I'd say the 2 teams to me that stand out the most is Arkansas State and Samford. Samford made the tournament last year, almost upset the 4-seeded Kansas Jayhawks, and got cheated out of it at the end, I would admit. I think a lot of people would admit that happened as well if you go back and watch the end of it. But yeah, Samford, if you're a 4 seed, if Samford makes it and gets the 13 and you're a 4 seed, I would be scared. Samford plays fast. They shoot a lot of threes, and that Bulldogs team, I mean, that's a scary team right there. That could do a lot of things if you don't watch out, and they did it last year against Kansas and should have won. And then Arkansas State just added. Arkansas State did almost defeat Alabama at home this season early in the year. So definitely a team I'd say to look out for with the way they've been playing as of late in the Sun Belt Conference. But yeah, those 13 seeds, pretty scary matchups if you're a 4 seed, if you're going against a 13. Then your 14 seeds, you got Northern Colorado, Utah Valley, Cleveland State, and Jacksonville. Really, I'd say the only team that stands out to me from the 14s, I'd say, is Cleveland State. Cleveland State's historically been good. They've had a few upsets in March Madness. And yeah, I like the Vikings to possibly get an upset in March Madness. And yeah, not really anything interesting about the 14 seeds this year, which is kind of weird. Which, yeah, usually we have 1 or 2 interesting 14 seeded teams. But gonna move on now to the 15 seeds. You got Southern, you got Norfolk State, you got Bryant, and you got UNC Asheville. If I was gonna say a 15 versus 2 matchup this year that I would think would be an upset, I'd say whoever plays UNC Asheville or Norfolk State would probably get beat. Both of those teams, Norfolk State's had a decent upset this year, and then UNC Asheville has played good teams like Auburn and a few other teams. I forgot who they've played, but those 2 teams definitely, I would say you don't want to play them in the first round if you're not ready, because they can beat you. They play fast paced for sure. But yeah, I see that possibly being the 15 seeded upsets. But then your last seed of March Madness bracketology is you got a bunch of seeds for 16s because you got playing games. So you got American, you got Morehead State, you got Marist, you got Omaha, you got Long Island, you got William and Mary, and then that's it. That's it. Yeah. Really, 16's not beating a one this year, so really, there's nothing much to talk about with the 16 seeds. Just they're there, and they're happy to make it there. In my opinion, that's if you're a 16 seed and you make it to March Madness, that's heck of an accomplishment for sure. But yes, that is going to do it for college basketball bracketology. I'm glad we got to do this one because I really was hoping to kind of break down a lot more of the seeds and kind of show you guys more with what we're working with right now and where we're at in the season. So, yeah, I mean, college basketball still in the peak season of college basketball, but we're getting close to the end, so we're almost there. Um and about to end the season and get to the best time of the year, which is March Madness. But going to move on now away from men's college basketball. We're going to move to some MLB. I'm a big MLB fanatic. I'm a Braves fan, so I love MLB. I mean, that's just a great sport. Love baseball. I could watch it like all day. But yeah, getting into MLB now, you know, we've seen as the past few weeks, we've seen a lot of trade deadline talk, or not a lot of trade deadline talk, a lot of trade talk, a lot of signings. And one interesting signing, if you didn't look at Halftime Sports Instagram page, one interesting signing was Jurickson Profar from the Padres, who's a free agent, got signed to the Braves for a 3-year, $42 million deal. Let me actually see that really quick. Yeah, Jurickson Profar gets signed to the Braves for basically I mean, it was a heck of a deal. And Jurickson Profar I think is a great player for this organization for the Braves. And you lost guys like Travis d'Arnaud, you lost guys like Max Fried, AJ Minter, Jesse Chavez, you lost them in free agency. And yeah, I mean, you get a guy like Jurickson Profar who's a superstar, made the All-Star game, made the All-Star game last year. I mean, you're gonna win, and yeah, I like the signing from the Braves to get Jurickson Profar. I think it was great, and I can't wait to see what this guy does. I mean, made the All-Star game last year, like I said, and I can't wait to see what Profar does, and he'll definitely be asset, and he'll be playing left field out there for the Braves for sure. But I mean, also just kind of looking at that division too, you got a lot of just like incredible talent. You got Acuna. If Alonso signs back, you have Alonso. You have Lindor. You have Schwarber, Bryce Harper. You got Chris Sale. You got Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola. I mean, you just got a ton of talent in the NL East. So it's getting harder and harder for competition. But this actually just now. The Reds signed Austin Hayes, outfielder from the Orioles. Austin Hayes signed to a 1-year, $5 million deal to Cincinnati. And yeah, that's big signing there. Older guy in Austin Hayes. He's an older guy, but veteran outfielder. So the Reds will need that if they want to make that playoff push, which they've been waiting for a long time. I mean, it's been a long time since Cincinnati's gotten in the playoffs for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I know I wanted to talk more about MLB, but right now it's early in the trade. It's like early in trading season and free agency and stuff like that. And I mean, I can't wait for 2025 MLB season. And also, if you guys didn't see or didn't hear, the new MLB The Show 25 actually had the cover has been released. Ellie De La Cruz, Gunnar Henderson, and Paul Skeens are on the cover. I definitely gonna love this game. Should be a great game. I love playing MLB The Show. I mean, just an amazing game overall. And yeah, I mean, like I said, right now the only big thing that's happened is Jurickson Profar going to the Braves. So once we get more stuff, we will kind of talk more about MLB. And once games start happening, I mean, spring training is a month away. I mean, can you believe it? I mean, we're almost back to baseball season, and I cannot wait to get it kicked off, or to get it, let's say, pitched off. We'll say pitched off. Let's can't wait to get it going as we continue. With basketball season almost ending soon, and then you're not gonna have you don't have football anymore after February 9th. So definitely gonna be sad, but also happy that baseball is gonna be back, and that's the best time for me. I love the summer watching baseball and watching my Braves play and getting some wins. So yeah, that's gonna do it for baseball though. We usually don't talk about that, but that's gonna do it for baseball. But now we are gonna get in to the last segment to the last talk of the day, where we will talk about football. And I want to talk about, I know this has been on a lot of people's mind. This has been on a lot of people's mind. We're going to get into the NFL first. This topic has been discussed throughout for the past 2 days now. Actually, past few years. And I'm sure there probably will be people comment about this on the video. Yeah, the Chiefs cheating scandal has been the conversation as we've gotten to the Super Bowl. And yeah, I mean, in my opinion, yes, they do cheat. In my opinion, Mahomes is a good quarterback, but he gets away with a lot of bullshit. A lot of it. But yes, I do think the Chiefs cheat. I'm gonna admit that. Like I will say I think the Chiefs cheat. They are cheaters. And I'm sorry. I mean, at if you look at the past few games in the playoffs, I mean, the Texans basically shouldn't even showed up. I mean, if I'm playing the Chiefs, I'm not gonna play. I mean, because the refs at this point just pull a flag out of their ass and say, "Oh, personal foul. Mahomes got touched by someone's fingernail, and it's a 15-yard penalty, and it ruins the game." I mean, it's kind of just at this point getting to the point to where I almost want to say, I know this probably won't be true, but I almost want to say that next year the NFL won't even be watchable anymore. Like you won't see as much fans. You'll see loss in viewership for sure from the Super Bowl to next season, like to the end of next season. You'll see loss in viewership. It's because the NFL, I have a feeling this is the reason why they're cheating, is because the NFL's pushing the narrative that the Chiefs are the dynasty, and then they're trying to get, and also, Taylor Swift, they're trying to get more fans because a few years ago, the NFL lost a lot of viewership. For some odd reason, they just lost a lot of it. And ever since Mahomes has been good, they have pushed the narrative that the Chiefs are the superpower team when they're really not. I mean, they're really not a good team. If you look over the past few games, the Texans should have beat them, but controversial calls. The Bills should have beat them, controversial calls. And I mean, what's to say? I mean, my prediction for the Super Bowl, like, I'm sorry for saying this, but my prediction for the Super Bowl, for any Eagles fans out there that are watching, this is going to be sad, but I say the Chiefs are the Chiefs are up like 3 with a minute to go or something, and they like have the ball, and the Eagles could possibly get it back if they get a stop, and it's like 3rd and 9, and they'll call like a 15-yard holding penalty on the defense or something. It will be some stupid call like that will ruin the game. That's why, in my opinion, I don't like watching the playoffs anymore. Like, I don't like watching it because it's not fun. Like, the Chiefs just cheat their way to the Super Bowl every year, and at this point, it's kind of getting ridiculous. And I think people have started to notice a lot. Like, you've gotten commentators like Troy Aikman and Joe Buck that have even pointed it out, and you got guys like Pat McAfee and a bunch of other analysts that have pointed out the fact that Mahomes is cheating, and the Chiefs need to be punished for it, but they won't be, sadly, because the NFL is the Roger Goodell is a soft league commissioner, and he won't punish anybody for it. So, but the good news is about this is that the new rule, the new replay rule that they have, that's coming into effect next year, can change a lot of this stuff. So hopefully that works, unless the refs still love Patrick Mahomes to death. So we'll see. But I mean, like I said, there's been video evidence. There's been all kinds of evidence that the Chiefs cheat, and if you don't think so, then you're definitely an NFL casual fan. You don't watch enough games if you don't think the Chiefs are cheaters. But gonna go away from that now and talk about the Super Bowl that is coming up 2 weeks from now, actually. 2 weeks from now, Super Bowl. But actually, wait, before we talk about the Super Bowl, we should talk about the Pro Bowl, because I feel like the Pro Bowl doesn't get enough respect. I honestly feel like the Pro Bowl doesn't get enough respect. So I want to announce our Pro Bowl rosters, who we got in the Pro Bowl. You got Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson at quarterback for the AFC, and then your running backs for the AFC, you got Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Jonathan Taylor. Your fullback, you got Patrick Richard, I believe his name. It might be Richard, I don't know. But I think he's on the Ravens. I could be wrong. And then your wide receivers, you got Jamar Chase, Jerry Jeudy, Nico Collins, and Zay Flowers. Your two tight ends are Travis Kelce and Brock Bowers. And then your offensive tackles, you got Deion Dawkins, Laramie Tunzel. I don't even know how to say that name. I butchered the name so bad. But, why am I even announcing offense? Main people just care about, like, the receivers and stuff. Yeah, and then you got Jared Goff, Jaden Daniels, Sam Darnold for the NFC quarterback. And then running back, you got Saquon, Jahmyr Gibbs, Josh Jacobs. And then your fullbacks, Kyle Janikowski. And then wide receivers, Justin Jefferson. Then you got Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then you got CeeDee Lamb and Terry McLaurin. And then your tight ends are George Kittle and Trey McBride. But yes, the Pro Bowl will be this weekend. I can't wait to watch the Pro Bowl, actually. The Pro Bowl is so fun to watch. I mean, it's actually really fun to watch now with the flag football game you got. Some people would say it's not, but I do like the flag football game, actually, that they have for the new Pro Bowl that's out. But now we will talk about the Super Bowl. Just wanted to kind of get a brief breakdown of the Pro Bowl since we kind of are getting closer to Pro Bowl weekend. But yes, the Super Bowl, 2025 Super Bowl in New Orleans will be played there, and it will be the Eagles and the Chiefs, a rematch between the 2022 Super Bowl teams, or was it 2023? I don't even know at this point. The years have gone by so fast. But yes, this will be a rematch between these two teams, and it is Super Bowl 59. We're almost to Super Bowl 60. But yes, Super Bowl 59. Can't wait to see what happens. Well, actually, I wouldn't say can't wait. I don't want to watch it anyway. So, but yes, this should be a good Super Bowl. Saquon Barkley and the Eagles have just run over every opponent so far in the playoffs, and so have the Chiefs. And then, yeah, I mean, this game, the Eagles offense definitely going to be something to look out for. And I think that's going to be the force that could stop the Chiefs, is Saquon running the ball like for 400 yards in the game, if that ends up happening. But yes, that is your Super Bowl, the Eagles and Chiefs. Don't really want to talk much about it this week, because it's still a week away, so definitely going to talk about it a lot more next episode. But I do want to get really quick before we go to college football, because we did miss that, and that's going to end the show. But yeah, before we go away to college football, I want to talk about Pete Carroll gets hired to the Raiders. And if you guys watched any football early on in like 2014, stuff like that, Pete Carroll was the GOAT of the Seahawks. He was the best coach that the Seahawks have had. And I mean, yeah, Pete Carroll, I definitely think is going to be that's going to be a good hire for the Raiders, in my opinion. And yeah, I mean, if you guys saw on the Instagram, we posted it, or I posted about Pete Carroll signing and all that. And yeah, I like it. I think the Raiders get something going. You got a young tight end in Brock Bowers. And then you just need to get a quarterback, either Shadur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, or Cam Ward, or maybe even Quinn Ewers as your quarterback. So definitely something to look out for with Pete Carroll and the new GM, what they do in the off season with preparing the Raiders for the draft and seeing who they get as their new quarterback. But yeah, just kind of wanted to talk about that for a second with the Pete Carroll signing and just breaking it down a little bit. I think my throat's dry. Ugh. Mm, mm, mm. All right. But to end off the episode, I kind of want to talk about some college football. We witnessed the final, final game of the season. Dang, they already have next year's schedules out, but we did witness the final game of the season last week. Ohio State did defeat Notre Dame, and they are your 2025 national champions. I think we all saw this coming. You heard me the week before say I think Ohio State's going to win it all, and inevitably they did. I mean, just a great game by Ohio State, and what a story leading up from the Michigan game all the way to the national championship. Just the flag planting, and then that chip on your shoulder that you want to get back out there and get a big win, and show your fans what's going to happen. And I mean, yeah, they proved everybody wrong and ended up winning the college football national championship. But yeah, I mean, not really much to talk about now that the season's over. But I mean, what a season it was for college football. A very great season. I really loved this year, actually. I mean, it was just outstanding with the 12-team playoff and every upset we had happen. But I can't wait to see next year for sure. And college football will be back August, I believe, 23rd. It'll be August 23rd next year with week 0. So that should be great. But definitely going to miss it for the next few months. But yes, Ohio State is your 2025 national champion. Congratulations to them. But that is going to do it for episode 8 of the Halftime Sports Talk Show. I hope you guys enjoyed. And actually, before we go, I have a little bit of a special treat to end off the episode, actually. And I hope you guys enjoy this video.
The ball is tipped, and there you are. You're running for your life. You're a shooting star. In all the years, no one knows just how hard you worked. But now it shows. In one shining moment, it's all on the line. In one shining moment,
Martinez, and then the flip out, and Arroyo
But time is short, and the road is long. In the blinking of an eye, that moment's gone. And when it's done, win or lose, you always did your best. 'Cause inside you knew that in one shining moment you reached deep inside. One shining moment you knew you were alive. Feel the beat of your heart, feel the wind in your face. It's more than a contest, it's more than a race.
picked off by Terrence Spence. answer comes.
One shot.